Welcome back for Game 2 of our doubleheader between Stepdads and Team Showboat here in Division A. Joining me for the second night in a row, Team Captain, fellow Div Ayer himself, Mr. Jason. How's it going, my friend?
It's going good. It's kicking off a couple days off for me, so I'm looking forward to getting some WoW in for the Horde style. But for tonight, we're going to the Nexus, and we're going to see two excellent A West teams brawl it out here. And I'm looking forward to seeing how these teams perform here early in the season.
And you know, most importantly, we're dead on schedule, 8:30 start time, almost like we've done this before, maybe. So just waiting for the R from Team Showboat, as both teams are in lobby, and we'll get this thing going. And there's the R from Doc Holliday. We are pressing the start button, and we're going into Game 1 on Cursed Hollow, map choice of the Stepdads. So we have, let me fix Mr. Jason. You're hiding. Oh, there he is. Okay, he's back. You were hiding behind the overlay. We have another level to this competition. So Team Showboat, 4 of the 5 players, Axel Foley, Blue Popsicle, Kyrios, and Yonners, all on Team Showboat last season. However, Doc Holliday was not. Even though all those guys are buddies and they played together, would you care to guess, Jason, which team Doc played on last season?
I feel like it might have been Stepdads.
You are correct, sir. So Stepdads, Doc Holliday, these teams know each other very well. In addition to the Dream, who replaced Doc Holliday, Bidhorns also new on Stepdads. But back into the draft itself, Asmodan and Garrosh banned out, and then Deckard Cain taken out as well from Team Showboat.
Yeah, not a big surprise to see Asmodan thrown out here early in the game. He is very strong on these large maps, gets a lot of value from that trait in the split push game, and just in general is a good poke hero. Alex Straza also banned out here. I like that ban in response by Stepdads. They already threw out Deckard Cain, so go ahead and get rid of the other best support in the game, and you kind of guarantee there's no advantage leveled there.
Yeah, I could see an argument for someone else other than Alex Straza. I mean, she's always good, but this also isn't one of her, like, du jour battlefields where she's, like, S tier. Regardless, not seeing her today. First pick to Haka for Showboat. Response of Hanzo and Ural for Stepdads. First time I've seen her in a while, as she is banned a lot.
Yeah, nigh unkillable is the Draenei Paladin Yrel, and just so difficult to deal with in the solo lane. Dahaka does have the advantage here on Cursed Hollow of having the global, which requires Yrel to have to rotate with care, if you will. But I'm not too worried about that. I feel like these guys are going to have a good understanding of the rotation game, and we're also going to see the Stukov and Diablo coming out. So right away, getting the front line, getting the healer for the side of Team Showboat, kind of hiding where that damage is going to be coming in later.
And not just Stukov, it's actually Viper Skin Stukov. So we get to see first of the new skins here in NGS. No surprise the Diablo pick. That's one of the preferred tanks of Team Showboat. Raynor being banned out by the side of Stepdads. While we're waiting for the second mid-ban, let's talk about where these teams are at. So Stepdads have played one set so far. They 2-0'd Hippity Hops. They're sitting at 2-0 so far on the season. Team Showboat on the other side, this will be their last set of round 1, and they have drawn both of their first ones versus Soak Every Lane and Reborn Knights Red. So a big set for Team Showboat in particular, if they want to go into round 2 with at least even or possibly with a 4-2 record.
Yeah, Team Showboat, I'll admit, I felt like we're going to be a little bit stronger to start this season. Have shown maybe a little bit of a slow start here, but they also had kind of a slow start in last season and ended up being one of the strongest teams in the B West division last season. So I'm not too worried about these guys. I think they're going to get things rolling as we head on in, and I think this is going to be a great matchup. But we will see ETC and Rhaegar coming out, so A little bit old school. Rhaegar, of course, going to be one of the best healers left on the table after what we've seen banned and picked so far. But the ETC worries me a little bit here, Mongoose.
Yeah, ETC not really in the meta right now, just because it's so hard for ETC to hold a front line. He gets poked down pretty easily. Now, I will say the Yrel will help him. Yrel can tank a lot of that damage, so her presence on that team will help mitigate some of the holding of the front line that ETC has to do. And the thing with ETC, and I know why Blizz is not really going to buff him, is his base kit is so good for a tank. If you give him just a little bit more, he's like right at the top of the tank meta almost instantaneously.
Yeah. In my experience in Heroes of the Storm, ETC has either been at the top or at the very bottom. He doesn't waver around the middle at all, but we're going to see Maiev come out. So right now, very dive heavy from Stepdads. They're definitely looking backline, disrupt this Leeming, this Tychus. And that's a good call, because if you leave Tychus alone, that's the way he gets the most value. You have to be able to disrupt it.
Yeah, 100%. And Tychus with the percent-based damage is really going to be a problem for the aforementioned ETC if he's able to catch him out of there. Who do you like in these drafts, man? Just taking a look at your first blush here.
I would definitely go with Team Showboat just based on the draft. I do feel like they have a lot of potential mosh interrupts with Yrel being the solo laner. I don't really see ETC solo laning, but they can swap that out later in the game if they do want to go stage dive, which may be the better option. One thing I do like about Stepdad's comp, though, is they have the Hanzo. They have that quick boss burn potential. So Team Showboat does have Dahaka and that global ability to try and counter that, but they're going to have to watch out here. They're going to have to be very careful on the rotation game.
Okay, well, we might have a restart. Yep, we're going to have a restart. So we will switch screens while we deal with this because the server is done incorrectly. So let's get out of here. For those of you that don't know how the servers work in Heroes of the Storm, the game, it's not the host. It's whatever server is most preferred by the players. All the players actually have a preferred server setting in the options. So we need to make sure that both teams do that. So we'll get a restart here in just a moment. And get going for a reboot of the make observer standard, and I know it may seem like a small thing, but it's kind of not. I know
it's really not.
No,
it's really not.
One of my players in particular has really bad ping issues if he's not on Central. So we that's actually something we started keeping track of more for that very reason.
Yeah, and I mean, it does affect the reaction times, from that ping from the server. And it's unfair if one team has very low ping because it's on Western and they're Western-based, and the other team is Central or Eastern-based and they have a much higher ping than average. It's fairer for it just to be Central and, pretty much everybody gets then on an even playing field. It's definitely a good system that we have here in NGS for that.
Yeah, and if you weren't sure that it was an issue, certain players, professional players, make sure to let us know when it's an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on the West Coast. I think you are too, and I know my ping jumps from about 16 to 35 when I go from West to Central. So it's like, in ideal circumstances, of course. For me, it's not that big of an issue, but I know some guys on the East Coast to the West, it's a much bigger issue.
Yeah, for sure. And having that central server to even everything's out is definitely the best call. But looking back at this game, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Diablo of Axel Foley has really been his bread and butter for as long as I've seen him here in NGS. How that will affect this matchup. Very strong on when to engage with that hero and when not to, and just in general, looking forward to seeing how he can deal with trying to enable that Tychus and Ming, get that first reset, try and win these team fights.
Yeah, and you and I both in Div B West, as was Showboat last season, and it got to the point of the second half of the season, teams just wouldn't let him have Diablo. When you played Showboat, you did not let Axel Foley get a hold of Diablo. Now that was pre-change, so it was a little bit different. I know he did have an adjustment period for the rework, but clearly he's back and comfortable on him, and very good on him. Whoop. I got a little blip here.
Yeah, I got booted out of the lobby.
I was wondering about that. Let's get you back in. Okay, now mine is wigging out. It won't let me invite you. My screen is weird. Let's see if they can invite me back. Yeah, wah. Let's see if these guys can just...
Yeah, it doesn't have the option to join the game. That's so strange.
There we go. All right. There we go. I'm in. Let's get you in.
All right.
Okay, bizarre.
So bizarre. Oh, that's a bad joke, Bidhorns. You can do better. You can do better. Boo!
It was a dad joke from the Stepdads.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And the jury says we'll allow it.
We'll allow it. God, I haven't thought about that show in a while. Celebrity Deathmatch.
All right. I'm not host anymore, so I can't start.
I don't even... Does it say who the host is now? Oh, Axel.
All right. Let's try again for game one between Stepdads and Team Showboat.
I will fight to my last breath.
All right. Right,
gotta love that Mecha Rhaegar skin,
fingers crossed. Yeah, all the mecha skins are good. I think the Tyrael one might be banned, which is too bad. But they're all really good.
Yeah.
Which is really too bad, because I actually think the Tyrael one might be the best of the bunch.
Yeah, one other thing we haven't talked about in this matchup is the Maiev tether into that ETC slide combo. That's something that's... that Phantoms and Rabid would use quite a lot on our team. It was to great success. Made it very easy for heroes like Hanzo that are very aim-based to be able to really telegraph and hit those spells.
Yeah, 100%. Is it still on West? Can someone check? That is still on West. That is very bizarre. Well, I can't type. So
the battle begins.
Let's see what these guys want to do.
5.
Well, let's see if they work it out amongst themselves, Jason.
2, 1. Well,
okay, it looks like we're going to go forward. All right, so the red team, Team Showboat, Kyrios on Tychus, Axel Foley on Diablo, Yonners on Li Ming, Doc Holliday on Stukov, and already in the bottom lane, Dahaka, played by Blue Popsicle.
And on the left, in the blue trunks, it is Stepdads. We've got Belize on the Yrel, Bacon playing Hanzo, Bidhorns on the Maiev, The Dream on Rhaegar, and Adam SK on ETC. Just kidding, Adams.
So I'm really interested to see what the ETC does here. I think the Maiev and the Yrel, him having more teammates on the front line with him will help mitigate some of the damage that he needs to eat that could really be a problem. We have a hard rotation. Axel Foley coming up, and I mean, you're not going to pick off Yrel, though. He just kind of walked the other direction. They didn't even try. They knew better.
Some things you just can't gank, and the goat is one. You're not going to get this goat today, and they do wisely start to rotate back away. But they do get a little bit of push in here. They're going to pressure the Urel at least to not get too much value here, really.
Now, Stepdads, super early prioritization. They grabbed that bruiser camp. I mean, they must have been waiting for that thing when it spawned. They had an appointment, and they were ready to go. Thank you to Cody Kraz for the raiding party, and welcome to the new viewers. We have a Div A West matchup. The blue team is Stepdads. The red team is Team Showboat, and we are just a couple minutes into Game 1, so you guys got here just in the nick of time.
Perfect timing, as always, Cody. Now we do see the bottom camp is going to be picked up for the side of Team Showboat, so both teams prioritizing camps, but I like the call to push in here from Stepdads, get a little bit of extra damage and value out of this camp. It's not going to be a ton, but you get what you can early in the game. They've got just a tiny level lead, and they're getting ready for this first objective that'll be popping up here in about 45.
So this actually first objective spawning here in the bottom will actually play to Stepdads a little bit more. They are securing their siege giants. They just actually picked them up in the top lane. So those are going to push down the top lane right as this tribute spawns. They do have Dahaka to deal with it and burrow if he so chooses. So definitely some strategic choices to be made here for Team Showboat.
Yeah, this is where the Dahaka really comes in valuable for Team Showboat. He's going to be able to stay up here and defend against these siege giants and then be able to burrow down at his leisure. But we'll have to see. Urel coming down, and looks like we're going to have our first big fight of the matchup.
So Atomisk wasting no time in power sliding away from Luchador Diablo there. All 5 members of Stepdads are here. They're pushing forward with numbers. They know they have numbers. Channeling on the backslide. A good hammer isolates away Kyrios. First blood of the game. Tychus goes down. Tribute to Stepdads. In the meantime, Dahaka getting as much value as he can here in the top lane.
That was very wonderfully executed there by Stepdads. You saw the Maya pull-in combo. One thing I didn't consider, the Urel knockback going to be added onto this. Rhaegar also, of course, does have that slowing totem to keep them in longer. And they just focus down Tychus. And lately, I've seen more and more of this isolation strategy. It's not just for Stitches and Garrosh anymore. There are multiple heroes that can isolate out one target. You have heroes that can really focus damage and blow them up. And then once you got that kill, you've got the advantage, and the other team either has to take a 4v5 or they have to just back away and give.
Yeah, and that's really highlighted here with what Stepdads is doing. They have so many tools to isolate. You saw the Urel just jumped, used the trait, used the stun, and Kyrios on Tychus in particular needs to be really careful with his positioning. He's not a long-range hero. And if he steps out just a little bit, he's going to be met with a power slide, he's going to be met with a Urel, he's going to be met with an Umbral Bind, and just as we saw, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Blue Popsicle on the flank, does land the tongue. Axel Foley goes in hard. Dahaka gets tethered. He goes down. A great lurking arm by Holiday to zone away the members of Stepdads. However, Team Showboat is in trouble. I'm kind of surprised they're hanging out this long, to be honest. And now they are withdrawn.
Yeah,
Doc's
they
in
just
trouble.
Ooh, a little bit too late. Dr. Holiday staying in too long and a second kill. And that's what we're talking about here, Mongoose, is that if you don't back away, you're forced into that 4v5 situation. And Team Showboat definitely with an overstay, and it's going to cost them their boss here.
Yeah, and like I'm kind of even a little surprised that Showboat's even making an appearance here. This is a 3v5. And they get the boss. Now they're fighting under an enemy boss. Tychus goes down. I think some of the decision-making here a little bit shaky from Team Showboat. They lost the Dahaka early in that last battle. They opted to fight 4v5. They lost some members. They opted to contest boss 5v3. They lost Tychus, and now they're going to give up tribute because of it, and Curse.
Yeah, definitely a loss of composure here on the side of Team Showboat. They are going to be able to clean up this boss. This match is not nearly over yet. We have had Dahaka, of course, doing a nice job of side soaking and trying to keep them at least even in the XP game, but for sure, this is going to be the tribute. It's going to be another boss down in the bot lane. Hanzo, once again, seeing all that value on the quick boss clear. And we're going to end up seeing that boss pushing in the bot lane to go along with his curse.
Yeah, and 10 right around the corner here for Stepdads. I'm actually surprised that the level is as close as it is. That's Dahaka value with 4 unanswered kills and the structure damage. This top fort is going to go down to the minion waves momentarily. 4 out of the 5 members of Stepdads pushing hard with the boss. And you got to figure with 10 advantage, are they eyeballing keep, Jason?
They got to be eyeballing keep here, and we are going to see that XP stretch out a little bit more than you might expect as these forts go down. A lot of the XP was rerouted from the front towers to the forts, so they had gotten the front towers, which isn't that much, but as the forts go down, which mid may well likely with the push of that mid wave with this with the 10 seconds left on this curse, plus the keep front wall, you're going to see this lead start to stretch a little bit for the side of Stepdads.
And in the middle of all of that, Dragon Arrow does go out, and it parts the Red Sea. Literally, nobody goes down, but Kairos is isolated from his team again. He is taken down. Boss is still at like 80% health. They've basically done nothing to this, and they are posturing like they might go forward. Level 10's finally here for both teams, and we will go over those momentarily, but there's the Warden Cage. Doc Holliday does break out of jail. Lightning Breath on the flank. Stepdads are going in on core. I think this is a little ambitious. Commandeer Odin goes out, and the damage from Stepdads damage from Showboat finally zones away Stepdads, and a small amount of core damage, but more importantly, bottom keep falling, and a 2-level lead for Stepdads.
Yeah, I agree with you that core was just not going to happen there. But got to give credit to Stepdads where it's due. It looked like they were looking more towards getting kills and trying to make that a more realistic possibility. And as soon as they realized they weren't going to get anybody killed with Dr. Holiday just healing the crap out of everybody, they did go ahead and back up. And credit to Dr. Holiday there. Good positioning to be able to step out of that Warden's Cage before things got real ugly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams will overstay their welcome there and try to push that, and that's the window that you give teams to come back on. Stepdads tried to make a play, it wasn't there, and then they left. No harm done. But we do have time to finally go over these heroics, and let's see what we have. It is going to be Ardent Defender by Yrel, Dragon Arrow from Hanzo, Warden's Cage from Maya, Ancestral Healing from Rhaegar, and a big TBD, there it is, Stage Dive from ETC.
Held it to level 13. You don't see that every day. And really there, you know, I get that decision from ETC. You don't really have to pick it until you're planning on using something. That, you know, those 2 heroics don't really do anything until you're ready to hit the button. And so he finally decided that he did want a solo lane. We're going to have Belize with that. Yrel is going to go ahead and stack with the 4-man squad and allow the ETC stage dive to equalize the advantage from Dahaka in that solo lane, as he can stage dive in anytime he wants. That is going to be yet another tribute, 4th in a row now, going over to Stepdads with their 13 talent tier advantage.
Yeah, there really wasn't any reason for Showboat to contest that. It was the first one. There's just nothing there. A attempted rotation onto ETC. Diablo is coming in on the flank. The slowing weighted pustule comes out. There's the shadow charge right into the wall, and they will get the pick onto ETC. In the meantime, top lane, Stepdads know ETC is going down. They're going to get value here. Take out keep top wall. Kyrios does pop Odin to try to deter further aggression from Stepdads.
Yeah, they're going to be very happy getting that cooldown out here from Kyrios. But also, it's just choose how you lose. You know, 4 people go down to the bottom lane, get the gank on ETC. That's all well and good. But meanwhile, you're losing your keep front wall. You're going to lose the boss. You're not going to be able to rotate here in time to be able to really stop that from happening with the monster damage from Hanzo coming in. And just right now, Stepdads are in the driver's seat.
Yeah, we never did go over the level 10s for Showboat, so we'll do that real quick. Lightning Breath, Isolation for Dahaka, Commandeer Odin for Tychus, Massive Shove for Stukov, and Wave of Force for Leeming. Maybe that's why ETC was holding the level 10s, waiting for that. Showboat is in a really precarious spot here. They're going to have to kill this boss, obviously, which will force them to give up this tribute. And when the next tribute spawns, Stepdads will be level 16. Showboat will be on a talent tier disadvantage, and they have to contest that tribute. They cannot give over another unanswered curse when this next tribute pops.
Yeah, we're seeing why Hanzo's a first ban on this map quite often. The boss control is just silly. You can see that by the time they had cleared out that top lane boss, the bottom one was basically already dead. They had already rotated all the way across the map and killed it. It's marching down the bot lane. It's marching directly onto the core. And so now, if you're Team Showboat, you have to choose between trying to go and get your one opportunity to force before level 16 and defending the boss that will literally chunk down your core. So, just rough spot here for Team Showboat.
It really feels like checkmate. I mean, of course the game isn't over, but it's going to kind of require either just one of those plays moments to get Team Showboat back into this.
Yeah, they're going to have to win a team fight, and then maybe another team fight, and then maybe another team fight after that. I mean, they're going to have to do very, very well if they're going to come back in this one. It's not impossible, but the word I would use is improbable.
So, game one of the last set I did before this one had one of the teams just dominating in kills, and it netted them very little in the way of XP lead. And this one is a little bit the opposite. You feel like the kill count should be more one-sided than it is, but it's really only 6-1 with that Dahaka pick. However, Showboat in their base, they are turtling up. This is their Alamo, their last stand. And let's see where this goes as Ural dives in deep, pops the Ardent Defender. There goes Warden's Cage. There goes poor Doc Holliday. And I believe this is going to do it, Jason.
I believe so, too. The core is going down. The stage dive, just for show, from the showy ETC. They make this old school comp work out just fine. And that's going to be game one, going over to the Stepdads.
A pretty commanding game one as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I would call winning in convincing fashion. Team Showboat did what they could to try and stay in the game as long as they could, but you kind of got the feeling that as soon as that curse was coming out, that was the beginning of the end. And, good execution throughout the game by Stepdads. Don't want to take anything away from, their solid performance in this game. They played to their comp very well. They played to those strengths. Meanwhile, Team Showboat not really being able to find that same kind of isolation strategy that we saw come out from Stepdads. Ideally, you want to get to Haka and Diablo onto one person, and then allow the Tychus to bring them down. I actually didn't see what talent he went with there. It was indeed in the rhythm. So he was looking to get the longer sustained damage rather than the quick burst to bring somebody down to low health. And then, get the Li Ming resets. And, one kill that whole game was that rotation on ETC. So no advantage gained there from the Li Ming resets in that situation, or really in any situation throughout the game.
Yeah, if you're going to have a Li Ming on your team and you don't get resets in team fights, she almost has no value, to be frank.
Right.
And I really think this game just spiraled out from when Showboat opted to continue engaging down in numbers early in the game. They lost both of those engagements, as you would expect, and Stepdads just took that and ran it all the way to the end of the game.
Yeah. We'll have to see if they can come up with something to recover with here. Map number 2 going to be Volskaya Foundry, so it's a good opportunity for them to have a little bit more straightforward team fighting over a map objective. There's not so much macro, but you mentioned the kill count and how it seemed like Stepdads was able to take good advantage of that. It's because they played the macro game very well. And you can't just win team fights. You can't just get picks. You have to know what to do once you get those small victories and turn them into larger victories. And that's exactly what Stepdads did in this match.
And Stepdads is not Stepdads, excuse me. Team Showboat is one of my team's regular scrim partners. I know those guys pretty well. And to be frank, that kind of wasn't the Showboat I'm used to. They were indecisive. They kind of seemed to not be on the same page. And that surprises me a little because usually they're pretty clean.
Yeah. Well, and I've had quite a few experiences with Team Showboat as well, both as a caster and as just watching some of their matches as a just a general fan of theirs. I really like these guys; they're really good guys and they play well. But they do have a little bit of that Jekyll and Hyde mentality sometimes, where sometimes the play is clean, sometimes it's not as clean. They would face some of the lower tier teams last season, and pretty much everybody in Div B West would do this last season. But you'd lose to a team every now and then that you shouldn't lose to because you had a down game. Maybe this was just a down game. We'll have to see if this is a fluke and if they can recover here in game number 2.
Maybe so, but let me tell you, nobody, I mean nobody, plays Jekyll and Hyde like Regen Blue does, because my team has mastered the art of playing up and down to our competition as the game would dictate. Jason, you are party leader, so you got to pass that to me or make the game, because we had that weird DC earlier.
There you go, you got it.
All right, so game 2 on Volskaya Foundry. Team Showboat looking to bounce back and even their record for round 1 at 3-3, while Stepdads looking to stay undefeated here in the early going 4-0 before closing out their season round 1, I believe tomorrow, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, there are a lot of games on the schedule right now. It's kind of incredible when I looked at Monday and saw something I think like 32 matches in one night. It's just it's insane to try and keep track of this thing.
I actually, because I'm curious about these things, if you saw earlier, I posted the week 1 casting stats. So for anybody who's curious, last week in NGS, only last week, not in this week, 91 games were played. 65 or 66 of those were casted, which is actually incredible. Almost a 70% cast rate by 20 different casters and 9 different co-casters. Busiest night of the week. Here's a hint for you. Team captains, if you want your games casted, do not play on Thursday. That is when everybody plays. 27 games last week. You said 35 tomorrow?
I think it was 35 Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, Monday was a really busy night because I was like, we had scheduled our match then. I was like, interesting that we're not getting casted. I wonder, oh, wow. That's a lot of games. I think there were like 6 or 7 games that started at 8 o'clock. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think
there's just not that many casters. We can't do it. But I will say this much: it's been incredible the numbers that we have seen, and in what is an impossible task. I feel like everybody's in the community is doing a great job to get a lot of these games broadcasted, and it's been a lot of fun to watch so far.
Yeah. Now, there will be more games this week because I think the math came out to approximately 250 games per round. So 90 some odd last week. That brings us to about 100 and whatever this week. But also, I think like you didn't cast any games last week. Normally you pick up a couple. The boss, Bobo, didn't pick up any. There were some casters at Clash who didn't pick up any. So I think it's going to be even better this week, and it's really cool. If you don't know, the caster support from NGS is through the roof, is so good, and it really encourages everybody to support the league as well. So enough of that rant. Both teams look to be ready, and we will play Game 2 on Volskaya Foundry. Here we go. So what adjustments are we going to see out of Showboat? Is there going to be a draft adjustment? Do you just kind of chalk it up as, man, that's one of those games?
Yeah, I mean, overall, responding to the macro style of Stepdads from Game 1, I think is going to be a key for them as an adjustment that they can make in this game. But also the macro, and this one's a little bit different, very heavily based on the items. And this was the pick for
Showboat.
For Showboat, so of course, they know this map. This is where they wanted to play, so you can tell that they're going to have a plan, both with draft and with that macro style. And so if ever there was a time for them to make a comeback, here it is. And also ban Uro, just saying.
and Alexstrasza too. This we mentioned last Battlefield that Cursed Hollow wasn't one of her S tier maps. Turns out Volskaya Foundry along with Infernal Shrines are, and no more Alexstrasza. That's actually doubly a good ban for Stepdads because we know Team Showboat likes Diablo, and Alexstrasza and Diablo are so strong when paired together.
Yeah, it does kind of put a weird position here, though, for Team Showboat. Either they give up that Yrel, which they're not going to do, or they give up the Decker. This should be probably a first-pick Decker. Oh, Asmodan. I had actually forgotten about Asmodan. He also very strong on this map. But Decker now going to be available for the side of Team Showboat, which they should pick up. He's so strong on this map, being able to place those Gatorades down on the point. I like that phrase you've coined, by the way.
That's my first one. I finally coined a good nickname.
The Gatorades. And get you ready before that thing comes out. It is going to be that Deckard along with the Blaze to start this out.
Yeah, you can't forget about the Asmodan, Jason, because we live in a world now where Raynor is first banned and Asmodan is first pick. Where are we?
Happening?
Where are we? What's going on?
Where have we gone? Okay, so yeah, Raynor, of course, very strong, good sustained damage, difficult to deal with on maps like this, but Asmodan gives you a lot of extra XP in the lane with that general pushing on the side, and Johanna gonna be. So they're going to corner the market on strong tanks here as Garrosh has been thrown out. I expect a Diablo ban, but they don't necessarily have to go there for the side of Stepdads. They're going to pick up that Rhaegar to get decent healing before the chokehold's applied here.
Yeah, and we can't overlook the Johanna Asmodan pairing as well. Asmodan can struggle in the early game a little bit to stack, so Johanna kind of covers that for the Asmodan player until he's able to clear those lanes by himself. So a really nice pairing there. Kael'thas banned out by Stepdads, and no surprise at all, Diablo banned out.
Low cooldowns and good area denial, so it's difficult to deal with on this map. Cassia going to come out, though, along with the Muradin. So Muradin's been emerging as a pretty strong tank, and strong on this map because of his trait, being able to walk away from this point when he's low, but come back into the fight quicker than any other tank in the game.
Well, and not just walk away and come back, but once he gets the double healing static at 13, he doesn't need to walk away. He can stand on that point, and he's a real beast to get off it. Cassia is also a Yawner special. That's a highly prioritized pick in many situations for Showboat, so that not at all surprising to see that hero selected by Showboat.
Yeah, Leoric going to be coming out in response to this double tanky front line, which I think is a pretty solid pick here. Interesting pick, though, the Greymane into the Cassia. One of Greymane's biggest weaknesses is that blind potential. I do like his ability to jump in and try and finish off heroes, but the Cassia blind is going to slow him down a little bit in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. So, interesting. Leoric can be a tough matchup for Blaze if it's played correctly. One of the couple of heroes who can at least go even, if not win, the solo lane against the Blaze. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes. While you'll have Johanna and Asmodan double stacking the top two lanes, I am sure.
Yeah, the Junkrat, an interesting pick to close this out. I do feel like Junkrat does have good, solid ranged poke to kind of counter that Asmodan poke that's going to be coming out from Stepdads. But he's got to be careful. The Greymane has the ability to really rip apart the Junkrat. So if he gets too close, it could end up being an ugly game here for Kyrios. He's got to be careful on the positioning.
Yeah, I mean, last game he had a little bit of a rough time on the Tychus. So hopefully he bounces back here. We had a Junkrat actually in game 2. In game 2, and the displacement from him was really valuable for Zenith of the Light to come back in that game and secured a couple of picks early. So for some reason my OBS just first time in weeks it figures. It should be back in a moment. Hang in there. In the meantime, we have the red team, Team Showboat. Yawners on Cassia Kyrios playing Junkrat, Axel Foley on Muradin, Blue Popsicle on Blaze, Doc Holliday on Deckard Kane, and Jason's cat on his chair.
We're going to have Adams on the Johanna, Valise on the Leoric, Bithorn's playing the Greymane, The Dream on the Rhaegar, Bacon on Azmodan. This is Stepdads.
So let's see how this game goes here. When you have an Azmodan on your team, or let me rephrase, on the enemy team, you want to get up early. You don't want to let them stay even and let that late game scaling take effect. So I would like to see some aggression here out of Team Showboat and let them really hopefully get up in level to not allow that Azmodan scaling to take place.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough road here, though, for Team Showboat. They have to kind of choose whether they want to focus on trying to team fight and disrupt the rotations or just try and somehow keep up on the wave clear. But the wave clear very strong from Stepdads on this 4-man rotation. And so it pretty much guarantees Team Showboat's going to be behind in the rotations unless they're willing to give up some of that soak.
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll pop in on these solo laners real quick. Like I said, Leoric can give Blaze a hard time. Valise, I'm going to say, is handily winning this matchup right now. Blue Popsicle has already had to tap, and you can see he's hugging his walls now. He's not coming out to play with Leoric anymore.
Yeah, and Blue Popsicle did a nice job on the Dahaka last game, but did struggle a little bit in the team fighting. Of course, not a very strong team fighting hero, mind you, but already seeing some struggle here in that matchup, like you said. I do think it's definitely tough for the Blaze. He does have some self-sustain, but it's not gonna overpower what Leoric can do with that Drain Hope and just in general the single target damage he can put out now. A lot higher than it used to be.
Yeah, Aura says nice logo on the.
Hey, thank you very much.
Yeah, the problem that Blaze has into the Leoric is Blaze's wave clear is tied into the oil spill and the barbecue where he can set the minions on fire. That's both his wave clear and his sustain. So he can't use it for both because if he does, he's just going to be eating all of Leoric's Drain Hope in the wave. So he has to choose either to self-sustain or clear the wave. He cannot do both. So over time, Leoric will win the game, will win the lane in an even matchup.
Yeah, but it's actually not as bad as it used to be. This whole combo would have worked way better back before they made infinite ammo on the towers, because nowadays it's cleaned up mostly by the wall. So they might take a little bit of damage in bot lane. They might take a little bit of damage from the superior wave clear from the Azmodan comp, but it's definitely not as bad as it once was.
So both teams have secured a single siege turret, and neither team has shown much interest in the biotic emitter. Once again, Showboat kind of stepping in despite numbers, because Blaze is not here yet. He will be arriving shortly. And also something to keep in mind, as this fight develops here in the mid, Azmodan's General of Hell is going to be providing lane pressure somewhat.
Yeah, that side soak always valuable. Blaze is currently side soaking just with his body in the bot lane, but that kind of turns this into a 4v5, which I admit Showboat is valiantly staying in here, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to push the issue here at some point as this gets closer and closer to being fully charged over on the side of Stepdads.
So a huge engagement onto Leoric. He is able to ghost walk away. Yeah, Showboat actually did a really nice job in that 4-on-5. The Gatorades were spot on. They actually didn't run out of health. They were all at full health bars. They actually ran out of mana, is what forced Showboat to actually go back and tap.
And Kyrio still has that turret. We do see the side of Stepdads pick up a turret on the roadside, and they're going to try and push the issue here to try and get this last 1% back as they once again engage. Huge orb coming out here from Bacon.
Adamus right in the thick of it with a 5-man condemn. Both teams have used their siege turrets. Johanna might be in trouble, does walk away, and despite a nice globe here, at least initially, it looks like Showboat has driven off the Stepdads for the time being. Their meter charging up past 90%, and Stepdads will re-engage as Johanna makes her way up after the tap. And here we go again, round 2.
Overtime, baby. Blue Popsicle. Oh, and a massive seal there coming in from Dr. Holiday. Belize is in the wrong part of town. Gonna go down there to the Junkrat. Axel Foley gonna fall in response, but Bidhorns is super low. This is turning into a bloodbath here, Mongoose.
Yeah, Muradin did go down, but the huge scroll of ceiling from Doc Holliday followed up by a 2-man jet propulsion on Blue Popsicle. A 1-for-1 trade. However, for the first time in this set, Showboat got something they wanted, and that was the first Triglav protector of this game.
Yeah, you got to credit pretty much all of that to that Gatorade power right now. The Deckard being able to outsustain the Rhaegar by quite a lot. And I don't know, Stepdads kind of have built this poke and burn, like poke and turn comp, right? They want to slowly bring you down with the ranged poke from Greymane and Azmodan, but then eventually they want to be able to turn and use that Greymane and that Rhaegar engage to be able to take somebody down. They didn't got much of an opportunity. They did get the 1 kill onto the Muradin, but it ended up being a very even exchange that ended up going over to Team Showboat, enough to get them that Punisher.
Yeah, and despite that objective going over to Showboat, XP advantage in favor of Stepdads. While we got a little lull here, let's talk about late game scaling. Leoric, really powerful late game. Azmodan, really powerful late game. Deckard Cain, really powerful late game. When this game hits 20, who's got the advantage?
Yeah, Junkrat also scales pretty well, especially after 16. He starts to get some really powerful talents that make him a much bigger problem to have to deal with. But I think you're right. A lot of it's going to come down to, I think, who uses that scaling more wisely. We do have level 10s in here, though, for Stepdads, as they do win that race. And here come all the ult picks.
Speaking of those old picks, Blessed Shield for Johanna, Entomb for Leoric, Go for the Throat, as opposed to Cursed Bullet for Greymane, of course Ancestral Healing for Rhaegar, and what is Azmodan's one new one? Tide of Sin for Azmodan.
Meanwhile, we're going to see over on the side of Team Showboat, they're going to be going with the Stay a While and Listen, along with the Ball Lightning, Riptire, Avatar, and the Bunker Drop. So they're going to be looking for that Wombo combo potential off of that Stay a While and Listen into the Riptire, the Ball Lightning. They're looking to secure some kills off of their heroic combos.
So Team Showboat had ideas of invasion there. They actually moved onto the turret. Stepdads did stiff it out though, and Showboat decided discretion being the better part of valor and opted to leave.
Yeah, we are going to see the turret picked up here once again for Stepdads. They're doing a very nice job of prioritizing these items, and that's a big part of Volskaya Foundry. Really a mechanic that you don't see on any other map is these extra items that can really turn a team fight your way, and they're doing a nice job in the early game of not only prioritizing grabbing those on a regular basis, but also using them very effectively.
Yeah, speaking of those items, that last game that I just casted on this between Regen and Zenith of the Light, I had something happen I've never seen on here. And that was Regen Blue had 5 turrets, and they actually had to drop a turret to pick up the Bionic Emitter. I've never seen it.
That's a worthwhile burn, though, because at the end of the day, you want to deny the opponent the ability to pick up some of those items. So it's okay to burn a turret to grab another turret, because then that's one less turret that the enemy team can get. Stuff like that is totally value on this map, and stuff you don't see every day, but, there's just things you got to be prepared for when you have 5 turrets in a game.
I've just never seen anything like that before. And
I think we did that last season against Team Showboat, but I don't know. I have to go back and watch now.
So, speaking of Showboat, Atomisk is running down here kind of YOLO by himself. Leoric has arrived to reinforce. All 5 members of Showboat are here. And let's see what toys are on the board. 2 turrets for a Showboat. and I believe only one for Stepdads. Johanna forced to burn the Iron Skin and walk to safety. Drain Hope does go out. Axel Foley, though, will have no problem paying off his student loans, and it is just one turret for the Stepdads.
Meanwhile, 327 stacks right now for Azmodan. He is scaling pretty early in this matchup, and we're going to see the engage coming in here from Stepdads.
Yeah, Blessed Shield went out there. There goes the Riptire, and it chases and zones away Greymane. Huge stay a while and listen. There goes the Ball Lightning. Deckard Cain is actually the first to go down, though. Ancestral being used as well. Everyone pressing R. Greymane goes in for the re-engage. Still has go for the throw. There it is. Picks up the double kill on Blaze and Cassia, and it is an ace. A 5-0 ace for Stepdads. If there is a power play, boy, that was it.
Yeah, better late than never for Bidhorns there. He had kind of allowed that Riptire to zone him out really far, which I think wasn't the best decision. At the end of the day, he was full health. The Riptire's not really going to do that much to you. Probably should have just stood in, because he had the turret to be able to lay down too. I'm not trying to criticize a 5-man wipe, but I was a little worried there that some of them were going to get away. But a lot of credit has to go out there to Adams, who just did a problem on that Johanna, re-engaging, hitting a huge condemn, isolating and getting a couple more kills out of that, and really, and then of course Bidhorn's coming in and finishing it off in style.
You know, and that, the way that whole series of events went down could actually encapsulate this series a little bit. And what I mean by that is Showboat won the first objective. However, Stepdads kind of recognized what was going on. They only lost one hero. They backed up, minimized the damage. And on the flip side, when something went wrong for Showboat, it went wrong in a big way.
Yeah, good macro play isn't about just taking good advantage when you're winning. It's also playing good from behind, as Dr. Holiday gets isolated here with that big entomb. But the turn is coming in here. Riptire comes in. Ancestral's going to come out to Bidhorns to keep him alive. Stay a while and listen. Going to zone out a couple members. But a huge orb on the back end. Deckard goes down. Adams is going to have to back up. And we are going to see the go for the throat. Going to take out the Cassia. And all of a sudden, this is a 2 for Leoric, and they're going to take that every day of the week. Or never mind, Leo's still, I take it back, Leo's still here.
Yeah, that was a 2-0. That was a 16-14 fight. I think if that was even, Showboat might have won that. Ball Lightning completely wrecked on the backside. I believe it was Greymane and I forget who, but both had less than 400 health. And if that was even leveled, that might have been very different. But once again, big moment for Stepdads.
I could have sworn that Team Showboat was winning that team fight, but yet again, Stepdads finds a way as now they siege in to this mid keep, just running it down mid right now is Stepdads.
Yeah, and actually the we haven't mentioned it yet, but the bunker from Blue Popsicle 100% kept Doc Holliday alive, and that's what allowed that engagement to even be a possible victory for Showboat. A big-time bunker coming out.
And we do see the charge in from the Punisher. He's going to take a little bit of poke damage in return. They're starting to get damage on this keep. A massive orb coming in yet again from Bacon. He's going to finish off that kill against the Blaze as they push in. The keep is going to end up falling into him. Going to be put onto a couple of members, but they do end up backing up here. 4 levels up right now for Stepdads.
You know, the orbs on Azmodan, when they're stacked up, always hurt, but they hurt even more when you're down 3 levels. I would be curious, like, actually, if one of those orbs hit, like, say, Cassia at full health, what do you think, 30% of her health bar? I mean, it's going to be a huge
Probably
chunk.
more. Is she moving or not? That's a factor, but I don't know. It's definitely changing the fate of a lot of these team fights. How many people are getting hit by those orbs? No doubt about it. And again, good macro call here from Stepdads. They know, they see the members of Team Showboat top, so they go down, they take out that bottom fort. Now there's no fort to fall back to, no well, as eventually we're going to be heading into objective on that control point C at the bottom lane.
Now, Showboat has one chance. Their one move here is get 16 and find something, force something. They have one more shot to fight this before level 20 Leoric is here, before level 20 Asmodan is here, before Indestructible Johanna is here. And that time is now. So they really want to find Stepdads on the map and try to force an engagement. And of course, the flip side of that, Stepdads is probably not going to let them do any such thing.
Yeah, they're playing back right now. They're playing within very safe distances of their forts. But I will say this much: Team Showboat need to go force somewhere, whether it's pushing up on a structure. They could try and rotate up to that top camp and force, but they kind of seem like they don't know exactly what to do right now. Almost like they're hoping that Stepdads will walk into their team, which is obviously not going to happen. They do end up going in force here at the bottom, but now level 20 is already here.
And I watched. It was about 40% of Muradin's health bar on a Globe of Annihilation there. I mean, basically, one of those lands and the team fight's over.
Yeah, you just have to retreat. And there it is again. The huge chunk, the bunker comes out. But buried alive is the Muradin, and he's going to go even further down into the ground there. The Junkrat will be able to concussion mine his way out in this situation. But Dr. Holiday getting hit from downtown by Bacon.
And I think that's going to do it, my friend. You can see them maneuvering through the mid. There are no defenses here. The GGs are coming out. And that's going to be a pretty decisive 2-0 going out for the Stepdads here. Still undefeated early in Season 5.
Yeah, I would say that this is definitely the kind of performance that will put the other teams in the division on notice. Team Showboat coming out tonight, not necessarily looking their best, but that does not take away from how clean and efficient these team fights and macro play were tonight. And congratulations here to the Stepdads as they complete a very clean first phase here in NGS Season 5.
Yeah, it's because of the new teams in NGS and the new divisions, it ended up breaking up that kind of the new division lines were kind of right in the middle of the old ones. So about half of Div B got bumped up to A, half of C bumped up to B. So I think a lot of those teams that ended up moving up, Divine 9 being one of them, so you could speak to this personally, are kind of feeling their way, finding out kind of where they sit within the hierarchy of their new division.
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
And I think Team Showboat is definitely, no pun intended, in that boat as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. It's only the first phase. It could just be a little bit of ring rust. I do remember hearing from this team last year that they did not practice a whole lot, and I imagine that's probably the case in the off season as well. But definitely, again, very, very good performance tonight, and it looks like we may be being joined here by Adams. How's it going, man?
Hello. How's it going, guys?
Going good. Congratulations. A pretty controlling 2-0 win. You guys are 4-0 now, I believe, right?
That's correct.
When's your finale for round 1 here?
I believe it's tomorrow, actually. Yeah.
Nice. Well, any thoughts on how those first 2 games went? Did you have things you didn't like, stuff that surprised you in draft, or just kind of any observations you have from within the game?
Yeah, I got reported by my team for feeding in game 1 stage dive VTC, so that doesn't feel too great.
Feels bad, man.
And and then Valise got the same treatment in game 2 with his trait value, quote unquote. But yeah, it was we ended up on 2 maps that we had really strong understanding of, and it I don't know, it paid off for us having going in with a plan,
You guys were Div A last season as well? Question mark.
Yes, but the Dream and Bid are new pickups, and in fact, Doc Holiday from Team Showboat was our medic last season.
Oh, I'm very aware. We talked about the always fun beating up on your old teammates going into the game. A little extra storyline there. So I don't know if you caught this part of the conversation right when you came in, just because of the new divisions and the new teams and the way the divisions were structured. A lot of the divisions got cut in half. So kind of the top half of B moved up to A, the bottom half of B stayed, the top half of C moved up. Where do you guys envision yourself kind of in this new hierarchy of Division A? Jason bumping up to join you guys as well.
Heroic div is where he's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
If that's not too pompous to say. We've been scrimming mostly with like heroic teams, and it's been pretty good for the most part. So we feel confident going into this season that we've gamed the system.
All right. Well, bold words from the Stepdads.
The gloves come off. Any final words on your way out? Any words to the wise for Doc Holliday and the guys, or thank yous, Mom I love yous, anything like that?
You mean shout outs?
Oh, thank you, Jason.
Yeah, shout out to Johanna for being busted right now. Shout out to Mo Steckies, our ringer. We're out of commission a lot at one at a time, and he always ready to fill and step in, and it's great for practice. And yeah, the only other thing I wanted to point out was like the bands were crazy in that set just because of how familiar our two teams are. Like we scrimmed them a lot too, and like Alex never touched the field for good reason. Doc is amazing at Alex, so.
All right, well, congratulations. Good luck
He's not
tomorrow.
Like that I said that. I don't know.
Good luck tomorrow, and and we'll catch you around.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for casting. Can't wait to watch it later tonight. Oh yeah, shout out to you guys.
Well, thanks. We love shout outs here.
Yes.
All right, have a good
night, man.
Well, that's gonna do it for this set. A 2-0 victory for Stepdads. Jason, we're not done, are we?
I don't think so. I think we got another match coming up in about half an hour, 10 o'clock in the B division. We've got Getting Sweaty versus Obscured. That's going to be over on my channel on Jason Hots, my first hosted cast of the season. So I hope you guys will come check that out. And I'll see you guys in just a bit.
Yeah, so I'll be joining him for that. Come on down, have some fun. And the nightcap of the NGS Wednesday night here. It's Wednesday, right? Yeah, Wednesday night. Everyone have a good night. We'll see you here in about 30 minutes.